record on this. So this meeting is going to be recorded, starting recording now. And first of all, a very warm welcome to all of you joining us for this very first brand new working group. It's really the sixth pillar of MEF, a new pillar which we're going to launch ourselves into. This is the front-end main principal working group of that. Who knows, down the line, there may be some subgroups coming along like we have in Future of Messaging, which is broken down into 5 or 6 subgroups. Maybe the case with content and advertising. It's up to you, the members. So a very warm welcome to content and advertising. So as always, the antitrust policy applies, and almost all of you, you've been to previous MEF working group meetings. A couple of you I can see are brand new members to MEF, and a particularly warm welcome to you. And this is your first working group I think you will have attended. So we have a very strict antitrust policy in play at all times, because we're here to grow the ecosystem in a sustainable way, and we're doing it in an anti-protectionist manner and remain very neutral indeed, and that's what we're doing. And the same applies for content and advertising. Now, this is the agenda for today. So first of all, welcome. I introduce you to the people leading the content and advertising group, because it's not just me part of it. Someone very important to introduce you to very soon. We're going to be looking at the mission of the group. You've got to start somewhere. So we came up with a mission, but you, the members, may want to make changes to that. Also, we suggested some possible deliverables and outcomes. Again, it's just a starting point. It's for you, the members, to decide and agree a direction in which you would like to head, because as soon as you say content, that is such a vast area. And I know some of you have something to say and some assistance and guidance possibly in helping us zero in a bit more on specific areas. And then we're looking at digital advertising post-COVID-19, the ecosystem as a whole, and platform stakeholders. And then it's over to you, the members, to discuss exactly what I've just mentioned. What do you want to achieve from the group? How are we going to do that? Where do we start? And then Susan, our Director of Operations, who's joined us, will take us through upcoming events. And we have the next meeting date lined up for you already. So first of all, very warm welcome to Narayan J. Singh. Narayan, take it away, sir, because ultimately this is your show and I'm here assisting with you.
Thank you, James. Good evening and good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on which part of the globe you've joined from. Right. Thank you for taking out time for this call. I sincerely thank James from Mobile Ecosystem Forum, because MEF has always been a pioneer as a thought leader and the advocacy space. And this group, this call, this deck that we are about to present wouldn't have been possible with the support of James. So James, thank you very much. I'm Narayan. I'm part of WeServe. WeServe is a mobile marketing company in India, Mumbai. It's been 12 years in operations. I'm the Chief Business Officer, leading global growth expansion and new product introduction in the market. James and I connected, on a different note, and then we felt that yes, content and advertising is a domain that we should make it because it's a contemporary topic. How do we bring more thought leaders together, and how do we take this ahead? And that's how we put this whole concept together. And and looking forward to your support. It's very impressive, the founding members who have already shown interest in taking this ahead. So look forward to active participation from everyone in this group and make it a big, meaningful opportunity for everyone in every country. Over to you, James.
Fantastic. Thank you, Narayan. So there's Narayan, myself, working together with Narayan on this. And the administrative lead for this particular group is Eva, who is also our membership and finance manager. And all of you know Eva. So yes, those are your MEF points of contact for content and advertising here. Now, we have to start somewhere. So like in any game show, you need a simple little starter for 10, and you need to decide, okay, where are we going to start? And we came up with this mission right here, as you can see. So to better serve the industry did become the industry voice on how to better serve customers through personalization whilst protecting consumer trust in the digital era. So it's all about protecting the customers. As you know, or as many of you will be aware, MEF has been around for rather a long time. I think it's February the 4th, so just a couple of weeks away, and MEF will be celebrating officially. It'll be 21 years since MEF as a company was created. I think really almost 22 since the idea was created. And since that day, protecting the consumer, the whole anti-fraud side of things. I know I can see companies being represented here, a good number of you specialize in that area. It's absolutely key and critical, because how can you grow anything without protecting the consumers, eliminating spam, eliminating fraud, and ultimately delivering great value for every level of stakeholder. So it's all about the protection, but it's about growing the market. It's growing your businesses. That's what MEF membership is about, growing your businesses whilst protecting the ecosystem, consumer. So you can see here on the right-hand side, founding members. These are the members up to this point at starting this call, who said, yes, we want to get behind this. We really think it's a great idea, the Content and Advertising Working Group. We've got something to contribute. It's good to see so many of you from these companies here today. As always, as I mentioned, this call is being recorded. So we appreciate different time zones and the fact that not everyone can attend live. So this recording, and indeed this presentation, will be available fairly soon, I envisage, after the talk's ended, in the member resources area. Thanks to Eva for putting the material in the member resources area following our meetings. So these are some specific deliverables that we've come out with. Those of you who are already working together with me, for example, in the DCB working group, or Fraud and Revenue Assurance working group on the future of messaging, we'll see some alignment there. You will see best practice, ad fraud. Ad fraud is a huge area. Many of your companies, I can see, are familiar with the world, for example, of SMS. There's a huge problem still with grey routes, and actually with an increasing volume of A2P SMS, so business to B2C, B2B SMS globally, as grey routes actually in some areas are increasing and not decreasing, simply because there's such a huge amount of transactions, and it's very tempting to try and find a more cost-effective route to the end client. But ad fraud vastly dwarfs, in terms of size, anything we can think of with grey routes and SMS, business messaging, and anything else. It's absolutely huge. So we've got that angle to contend with, but also best practice. What can we do with regards to best practice? What angles can we take? So again, these are just some ideas from the beginning. And now I'd just like to hand over to Narayan, because you are an absolute expert in this area. I've learned a fair bit from you in the past few weeks as we've been putting this together. If you can take us through this and the coming slides, that would be appreciated.
Sure. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. To just give a preamble, we've seen how the pandemic has impacted all of us globally, and we've also seen differential changes in various industries with digitization, with work from home, and everybody being mostly indoors. Digital or digitization has grown exponentially in every country, right? And that has given growth or a momentum to three broad domains, which is, everything which is large companies going digital, having front end, having a portal, having an app to sell to consumers, more and more video content being consumed, right? Given that the digital footprint of an average consumer is increased by at least 3 to 4x, depending on the continent and the depth of 4G penetration, advertising is becoming more and more important and relevant, because everybody is trying to reach to the consumer, and mobile is the first interface to reach out to a consumer globally, right? Now, in the mobile domain, what is that a consumer is looking for today, apart from buying and selling, which is commerce and content? Everything is moving to voice-based search. To give you an example, our smart TVs, connected TVs, on the remote, we have a voice search button. So in case if you don't want to type, just go on Google voice search and you can search, right, in your native language. B, vernacular language is being preferred even in content, even in OTTs. I can talk about India. We've seen a massive 55% CAGR in vernacular content being produced and consumed in India itself. And I'm sure it's not very different in other parts of the world. Third is the video-based content. If you just browse your social media, you will see that brands have moved to a 5-seconder or a 10-seconder video ad, right? Apart from the usual display ad, depending on the budget. Now, this also is further fueled by a growth in digital payments, various messaging platforms. We've seen Telegram being a competitor to WhatsApp, and similar, there are other messaging platforms. All this combination, which is content consumption, payments, D2C companies, messaging platforms, and advertising are perfectly linked to each other, right? Because consumers today, like I have at least 28 apps on my phone. Why do I open an app? Can I get some personalized content? If I'm browsing my Amazon marketplace, can I get some personal recommendation? Amazon has got a division called Amazon Ads, right? Today it's generic. Today in India, when I open my Amazon app, I'm just getting random insurance and random four-wheelers. Can we customize it as a user? The stickiness increases. Also, you would see a growing trend in online to offline. We are all used to billboard-based advertising, huge billboards. The go-to-market for a billboard is huge. You get an advertising, you get it printed, you put it up on the board, you can't change it, you want to change it, you go through the cycle again. A new concept is emerging in most countries called digital out of home, where the billboard is digital. So sitting in my office, I can just change the creative on the billboard, and I can flicker it, I can change it, I can have 3 ads in a day, right? I can customize it depending on the time of the day, the day of the week, right? So advertising is also now coming to billboards in a digital format. Last but not the least, we've seen that SMS is also getting transitioned as a business engagement on various chat apps, bots, as we call it, right? All this coupled with various analytic formats in big data, machine learning, objective is to create the next best product. How can I create? How can I customize? How can I communicate the next best product? Combination of all of this is a perfect ingredient, a potent combination for digital advertising and content. And taking this ahead, moving on to the next slide, we'll see that how this perfectly integrates into a mechanism where we feel that the industry will feel value in this. James, may I request you? Yeah, perfect. Now, summarizing all of this from a consumer standpoint and from an ecosystem stakeholder standpoint, you've got 3 broad dimensions. One is the consumer, which is all of us, while we are definitely contributing to various ecosystems, but at the end of the day, even we are consumers, right? Now, from a consumer standpoint, what are we capturing? Or what is that? Any ecosystem, be it an OTT app, be a D2C company, be a marketplace, be a website, be an outdoor hoarding, purchase to intent, from intent to purchase. Can we bridge that gap? Can we customize that? Okay, I have an intent, but how do I get to the purchase? How can we preempt a purchase? How can we preempt that? Okay, he's bought a smartphone. Maybe a power bank could be logical in the next 3 months, or maybe after 2 months. 3 V's, video, voice, vernacular, right? And entertainment, massive entertainment. Everything is OTT first. We are seeing growing trend where cinema houses are coming under the radar because they're not able to sustain the profitability because of pandemics. New movie having a big blockbuster release on OTT platforms, right? So entertainment, that's the demand side. On the supply side, who's fueling this growth? Who's supplying the digitization growth? Various OTT platforms, short video formats. We've seen TikTok globally picking up. We've seen D2C and gaming, where it's a big ecosystem itself, right? On top of that, you write the media and content. That's fueling it. What's enabling the whole demand and supply? Various platforms, various algorithms in big data and machine learning, and definitely to protect the consumer interest. We've got the ad fraud and data privacy concept to put together, interwoven in all this industry. So this group essentially what James and I thought that should be a 360-degree approach where all the three dimensions, that is demand, supply, and the enabling ecosystem should be a part of it, so that all aspects are discussed, are considered, all aspects with respect to the growth of various industries which impact content and advertising is tabled, and we are able to make a meaningful impact in the ecosystem. Moving on. You would also see in your respective countries and industries that the digital platform matrix, what we call it the 6C, where we, the reason we put this is that connectivity across phones, across devices, the need to communicate with another human being, but through digital, not through a face-to-face, to sort of say that even dating is preferred to be digital. You've got Tinder where you prefer to first decide whether it's a match or not, and then you decide to meet the person, right? Conventionally, 10 years ago, where you would first meet the person and then decide whether it's a match or not. So it's completely changed. Content is being consumed in various formats, be it gaming, e-learning, right? The other day, I got a circular from Harvard Business School for a leadership module of 5 days, completely online, right? So geography is passé. Sitting in India, in Mumbai, I can do a 5-week management development program of Harvard Business School without actually having to travel, right? So that's content being consumed, music, news, commerce. We are buying and selling anything and everything online, right? From a small medicine to the best of the laptops, to the best of the houses, to the best of the cars we are buying online on apps, currency, payments, Forex, and last, capital, which is funding. All this is in a form content, not necessarily just video content. This is all content. And these are all opportunities for us to customize for the consumer so that he gets the next relevant product. And on top of that, how do you take this to market? How do you take this to potential advertisers? How do you cross-pollinate domains? So can a payment company reach out to a gaming company and say that, for your consumers, these are the best payment products that I can offer. If they're okay with PayPal, fair enough. If they're okay with credit card, let me customize it. I know what credit cards they would prefer. Can I, basis his credit card spend, the gaming company can say, okay, can I give him a next game free, etc. So there is various combination that's possible across domains of personalization. Moving on.
That's it.
Now, yeah, basis the thought that James and I have put together, we would like to hear from the group, your views. What do you feel, recommendations, and how do we further take this ahead? James, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So what really hit me, if you remember, I think it was last May, we ran a digital transformation event. Now, if what Narayan has just described isn't digital transformation, then I'll eat my right arm, because this is digital transformation in the absolute purest form. And all you companies attending, whether you're approaching it primarily from a business messaging angle, or a cybersecurity, payment security angle, or you're a payments gateway, or you're an industry consultant, whatever your role in the business, everything merges together. And at that digital transformation event, if you remember, if some of you attended that, we had a day really looking at the security side of things, the authentication piece. Then we had a mobile payments day with a big focus on direct carry billing. And then we had the third day, which was all about digital marketing and conversational commerce. And guess what? The penny dropped for me that actually all three line up together. And for sure, we have different working groups, we have different programs, and indeed members are free to say, we don't want to be part of the future of messaging program. We just want access to the personal data identity and IoT, whatever else. But I think that is missing a big trick, because the messaging piece, the cybersecurity piece, the content, the advertising, everything rolls together. And this really led to the creation of this group. And I know some of you on this call are keen to say your piece, and now it would be wonderful. But I think what would really help is somehow, because content is so vast, Narayan has set out what content actually means. It's such a vast area. What do we want to focus on? What do you want to focus on? So would someone like to start us off? Anybody? Please don't be shy. Andy, Louise, anybody? I know you're not shy. Yeah.
I'll jump in, James, if it's all right.
Absolutely. Go ahead. So if you could introduce yourself to everyone.
Andy Gladwin, I head up mobile at Cheetah Digital. We are a digital marketing company and serve and with that, serve them across all channels, and a lot of that comes to personalization. So this is a new pillar, which is music to my ears, and Cheetah Digital's for that matter. Looking at what we have here, I think it's very broad and very exciting, gives a lot of flexibility. In terms of the starts that I feel that we would be able to place a focus on that could be of value for others as well, is looking at the data. So when we talk to our customers, yes, they all have content, and yes, they want to deliver content, but for it to have impact, it needs to be contextual, it needs to be relevant. And to drive that, you need personalization. And obviously the mobile environment is the natural, habitual, and preferred environment for many customers. And so that provides a great arena and something that I'm sure we will have some great case studies around. But what data they have available to actually personalize that content, make it targeted, make it relevant, be able to understand what channel and what time to send it down. A lot of third-party data assets have been ground down through regulation and policy in recent years, rightly so. And so with that, we look and see probably one of the most common conversations we have around personalization content is how can we understand how best to deliver what content to whom? How do we segment? How do we not just say first name stroke last name of this city, but be able to understand, hey, you've been looking at ski holidays on the Hilton app, and now let's serve you your next email with ski holiday or next year. Or we've seen that you've had a lot of frequency and recency. Let's serve you a loyalty program, or if you haven't, let's understand how we can prevent you from a churn perspective. There's a lot of the processing side, but for me, when I look at organizations and we have conversations around content, which goes into advertising as well, the big thing for them is understanding what's the data that they can use in an environment that there's increasing handcuffs upon it. And I think that mobile apps provide a great treasure chest for behavioral and observational data, along with everything else that could be triaged into a CDP. And then with that data, how can they not only collect it, but how can they manage it and action it out through the channels that mean the most? So from our perspective, I think that data would be a large part of the story to say, we have these environments, the 60s that you represented. We have the circle that you provided, that cycle. But underpinning a lot of the success of this is you can have the channels, you can have the media, you can have the demand, but if you don't have the right material to populate it and the right strategies to do that in a complicit way with an ever evolving consumer that's becoming more data sensitive, that's where we'd be placing an emphasis. And I think that's something that many enterprises look at. I don't think that we're unique in these conversations, but we certainly would love to bring to the forefront of the group.
Thank you, Andy. I think it's fair to say there is a lot of data around. Increasingly around the world is being regulated, like you mentioned, and who owns that data at the end of the day? Does the subscriber, does the individual have ownership at all? That's out there to be debated, particularly by some rather huge organizations out there, and that's a really interesting point. But with big data and then AI as an extension of that, you've got the data. How do you make it usable? And I think for me, personally, the work of this group would be great if we can also just keep in mind that the majority, we've got Mobile Squared on here, who've done a number of analyst presentations at events, and they've shown time and again that the majority of listed companies around the world are small and medium sized. And time and again, the majority of those companies are still not even using SMS, for example, for their client engagement. So it would be great if the work of the group could keep that in mind at all times, and that we're not just thinking of the large organizations who might be clients of some of your companies, because ultimately the mobile ecosystem is made up of millions and millions of other small organizations. And whatever the mobile ecosystem does, it's got to filter down and be usable by companies of most sizes. So yeah, no, Andy, thank you.
And as just picking up, thank you, James. There's another Andy here. So
Right.
yeah, really interested in what Andy's got to say. And certainly, you know, there's a lot of resonance with what we're doing at Mobile Squared. So, you know, we're just working through analysis of some consumer research that we did to, you know, kind of look into the market verticals and the consumers that have engaged, you know, have opted in to receive engagement from those market verticals to see if, you know, we're delivering them the messages they're expecting. Are we delivering them too many? You know, are they not getting enough? Are we over or underutilizing the channel? And that's, you know, going to be important for the brands going forward to understand that, you know, the customer wants them to reach out in a rich business messaging channel, but at the moment they're not really doing that. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting little work group.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy.
Hi, everyone. Just from a carrier perspective, this is Catherine McGuire from BT. I'm the RCS product manager in the messaging team. I think, just drawing on what both Andy said, I think what we would really love to see is, I mean, we've looked at the Mobile Squared analysis on how we can move, and look at maybe old digital advertising streams that maybe are not the best investment for marketeers at present, and move them over to perhaps a more messaging centric channel. And I think that's and I know, as you said, James, quite a lot of traffic actually hasn't moved over to SMS as of yet, but looking at how we can best invest market and budget using these different streams is something that I think as BT we'd like to get out of this group, and case studies as well from different organizations to show how they've achieved that would be really helpful.
I agree, because we've had a lot of events and several companies here. One of the Andys I've spoken particularly is actually, you've hosted, Mr. G, Andy Gladwin, 2 panels at various events with real life clients there, enterprise clients as well, talking about real life case studies. That definitely what our members have found very, very impactful and very, very relevant. And I think for me, when I joined MEF 13 or 14 months ago, and if you look at all organizations around mobile, there are no organizations which successfully bring together infrastructure manufacturers, messaging companies, CPaaS providers, whatever you want to call them, digital advertising companies, mobile operators, and this is the key thing, a whole host of enterprises. So it would be fantastic to have more enterprises actually joining the conversation here. And really a call out to you guys, because as you know, we're a not-for-profit organization, but we grew considerably last year up to 150 members, which is very nice, but we are missing the enterprise piece. And it would be fantastic to have more enterprises in here, particularly in this group where it's so relevant. And it's a great starting point for an enterprise to be active here. But then actually, if you look at our other working groups, I'm not using this as a sales plug, in fact, all enterprises are under threat, for example, of smishing, they have fraud issues and everything like that. So the personal data and identity side of things is very relevant for enterprises. The revenue assurance side of things in messaging is very relevant. Of course, there are going to be different touch points, different contact points within enterprises for that. But having enterprises in this discussion will be really interesting, because you can see here just some of the founder members. We've got mobile operators who joined us today. Thank you, Catherine. We've got George from Ooredoo here as well. Business messaging companies, digital advertising, analysts, and a whole host of others right here, right now. So yeah, great, thank you. Anybody else?
James, it's Steve Godman from IMI Mobile here.
Hello, Steve. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. It's my first full session with you guys in this format. So yeah, this is really close to my heart, this stuff. You touched on it very briefly there.
Sorry,
James,
could you just introduce IMI to people, who you
Absolutely.
are, what you do, who IMI is, and what you've done? Because you've spoken at MEF event, I think, and you've come up with the recipe cards, which is something really good, and perhaps that could be extended to this. Who knows?
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, IMI Mobile were acquired by Cisco last year. We're a CPaaS provider mainly. we work with enterprises large and small, mainly large, and we do a lot of what I call back office integrations, application generated messaging. I'm very, very lucky. I think I've got the best job in the company, actually. But I work in what we call the future messaging team, and there's 4 of us.
But who stole that name from who? I think you stole it from us.
I'm not getting involved in that conversation. Leave me out of that one.
Royalties.
So what we do, our brief, our charter within Cisco now is, anything new. So leveraging the technology we have, which is great technology. There's lots of great technology out there, so it's not a plug, but we have this great platform. We've got gateways and connectors into all of the messaging services. My background is more what we used to call new media, email in the late 90s, social, voice, fax broadcasting in the 90s, believe it or not. So I've come right the way through the whole market. I'm not an SMS expert. I'll just make that clear. What I believe needs to change is, firstly, I think we need to separate what is marketing in this context and what is advertising. Mobile advertising is a $200 billion industry. In-app advertising and on networks, walled gardens, you name it. It's almost hard to conceive how big it is. It's 70% of all of the digital advertising spend is on mobile. Yet, you tell me the last time you clicked on an ad when you were reading an article on your phone. And the likelihood is you probably very rarely do. So that's a big problem, because if you think about the way agencies and brands invest, what they do is they're trying to grow their business. They don't have too much option digitally. They either go with Facebook and Google, or they run their ads across networks. And if it doesn't perform, they spend more money. But there's a sort of delta continuing to grow where it becomes less responsive, but more money goes in because most companies are VC backed and they just want to grow. And it's a sort of a vicious circle. So what I've been looking at for the last year or so is, how can we connect this advertising on mobile into rich messaging? Because to me, it seems like if you're a brand and you want to run a campaign on mobile, you have to go out and invest in a landing page or a full mobile landing page experience per campaign. Because otherwise what happens is people click into your mobile experience, your mobile website, and to do anything on mobile is really hard. So if you want to download a white paper on mobile, you have to fill out a form. Now, if I'm on the bus between Waterloo and the city or wherever I am, and I see a form, I just completely disregard it. I don't want that information enough to be messing around on my phone, trying to fill out a form, spending 5 minutes doing it. So what I believe very passionately, and we've been going to market and had some success so far, but we can do a hell of a lot more, is you've got a $200 billion budget over here spent on mobile. If we can link those mobile ad positions, those ad units, into rich business messaging with one click and a URL, QR code, whatever you like, we can provide the best possible customer experience on mobile that was built for these type of journeys. Mobile web is shoehorned in, it's not great, it's expensive, you have to keep repurposing it. And for brands, they just don't really bother. They spend a lot of money on media, but they don't spend much on the landing experience and the customer journey. And I always say that customer experience trumps data. If you've got a great customer experience, you don't need to know their name. Who cares? I mean, but if you deliver a great experience that they can engage with a few taps of the thumb and book a test drive within a rich message flow, doesn't matter which one, but let's just say WhatsApp or RCS or whatever, I believe we can optimize the entire mobile advertising industry. Now, I'm a salesman, so I would say that, but I'm passionate about this because I see a massive, just beyond comprehension for me about this wastage in the market. If we can optimize one click to a logical outcome that the brand desires, we have reshaped the way mobile marketing works. And I think probably, to your point, James, you know, if we had an ad tech business sitting in this forum and we had a big agency and we said, look, this isn't going to cost you much money to do. So URL, okay, we have to set up some messaging for them. We can do that in an afternoon. You know, there is a lot of potential here, is my point. So I'm throwing all that out there, whether or not that's a new idea or not to anybody, but I'm really passionate about it and I'd love to talk about it more with you guys.
Steve, no, thank you. I think what resonates with myself personally, and I'm sure everyone in this group, is the whole element of time. Because I've done a lot of presentations about customer experience myself over the years, and the number one thing that customers value is their time.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple. So anything that introduces friction into anything behavioral, whether you're making a decision on should I get some information or should I actually purchase, you are losing out. And this is why, for example, two-factor authentication space, you've got new things coming on like flash calling, which make that authentication potentially seamless, things like that. So coming on to challenge A2P SMS. So yeah, time is something, it's the most important. And there's this perception now, because it actually is a perception and research has shown it's just a perception. There's perception by most people out there that they're busier than they've ever been. They're suddenly really busy. People were busy before, they're still busy, but there's that perception. But do you know what? Perceptions are very, very powerful. We've got to react to that. So everything we've got to do is we've got to keep in mind that speed is of the utmost importance. So yeah, thank you. Anybody else? We've got, just to let you know, we've got 20 minutes left. I would like to hold about 5 minutes back at the end, Susan, just to tell us all about some of the key events which will be relevant to members of this group. So really about another 15 minutes, but please, other members of this group, your opinions would be great.
Hello, James.
Yeah, hey, Carlos. Hi, introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just start video. Hello, everyone. I'm Carlos. I'm the CRO and co-founder at Enabled. At Enabled we are basically an AI communications platform for messaging and voice. We are working nowadays a lot on AI for the industry, but also on tokenization for fintech, crypto, and PaaS solutions for CSPs. So I just wanted to mention that I really like this group. I really like the deliverables, but I think just 2 comments. One, I would really love to see more. I think you mentioned it, James, more of some representatives on media platforms and brands. I think otherwise I see the founder members, and we are all technology providers. We are all doing enabling things. I think this group needs that input as a key value of the deliverables. That's one point. Would be great if we can, I don't know, engage with this group of stakeholders. And another point that I wanted to suggest on the deliverables is that if we can, at the end of this group, this working group, we can really put something in practice, because I wouldn't like that this is just theory, right? Like use cases on a paper, and everything is more theoretical. I would like to see something more in practice, where we execute a use case with a brand or a couple of brands, technology suppliers, technology providers. We have many founder members here that we can participate in this real, let's say, real use cases. We invite consumers to see the experience. We build, as it was already mentioned, the customer journeys and customer experience. We put them in place, and then we see the on real life what's the result of all the work that is going to be done through this working group. So these are my 2 suggestions. Thank you, James.
Carlos, thank you very much. So no, I agree. So if any of you have contacts with any of the companies we've been talking about who we'd love to have as members, fantastic. But it's not just all about getting them in as members. We could have, if you are working with digital advertising agency or anybody or an enterprise, you've done something with them, why not invite them to speak in this group? I think real life use cases has popped up several times from several people already. And an extension of that is you've got real life use cases. And of course, I appreciate some of your customers want to remain anonymous. There's certain things you can't divulge to the outside world. Then again, there are going to be certain things you're doing with customers who you've publicized all over. So if you've got situations, and it's really impactful, particularly if you can mention brands to people rather than say a large parcel delivery company, if you could say if it's DHL or UPD or whoever it is, that would be even more impactful, personally, I think, to the outside world. If you've got use cases like that, this is what was done, this is the impact. And if those could be documented perhaps and collated into like a cookbook, and ultimately coming out of that are then down the line in certain directions recommendations from the group as to how to do A, B, C, D, or E. And the ultimate thing right at the end is best practice coming up, for example, like we've done in the world of messaging and in the world of DCB with a fraud framework and how to protect against fraud and fraud mitigation, for example. So yeah, the real life use cases has resonated strongly so far. Anybody else? We have some time still. There are a good number of you here.
Hi, James. Louise from
Hey, Louise. Hi.
And team. So I guess our role
could you just let people know who is Impello? Have your moment.
I will. So Impello, we specialise in compliance monitoring and anti-fraud solutions in a niche area in the VAS space. So where mobile services are sold and billed through carrier billing. So, we don't advertise services ourselves and we don't serve content ourselves. So I think really where our role is, we look at advertising fraud and we look at two areas. We look at social engineering techniques that are used, non-compliant flows where essentially consumers are enticed into buying something on their mobile that they don't really want by some kind of social engineering technique. And whilst our speciality is in the VAS space, I think it's equally applicable to any other mobile type commerce arena. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what social engineering techniques we might see in the conversational commerce space as that grows, and also in the voice-based search. Those were two areas which I think we're going to see massive increases in. So are we going to see social engineering techniques and ad fraud in those places? And the second area that we specialise in is essentially fake traffic, so traffic that's being generated by not genuine users. And whether you're an advertiser in the VAS space or an advertiser in any other space, no one wants to pay for fake traffic that isn't generated by users. So we're kind of here to serve the group and share what knowledge and insights we've got. That might be particular to the VAS space, but I think there are parallels that we can draw and things that we can learn in other spaces as well. So thanks, that's what we're here for.
100%.
Delighted to be a part.
You're in the right place. Good to have you, Louise. Anyone else?
Hey, James, John Brunner. I'm going to jump on that too, because Impella and Aegis do a lot of the same things. One of the other things that the major carriers employ us to do, which the reason I say it's very important to them, is content standards. What is the content actually intending to do? Even it could be a perfectly compliant, flow. It could be perfectly, intended to deliver, true value to a customer, but the content could be something that is offensive under the brand or just generally offensive to the public. And so we engage in a lot of takedowns based on content standards that are set by the carriers.
Great. John, could you just introduce...
Just adding a little bit of twinge.
Thank you. Yeah. Just go ahead, just introduce Aegis Mobile, to explain who you are. You've explained what you do, so where are you, how many of you, what do you do?
Apologies. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, Aegis Mobile has been around for about 15 years, providing compliance services for premium SMS, SMS, now RCS, direct carrier billing, location services, identity platforms, IoT partner programs, other rev share programs. So we're kind of all over the place engaging the consumer experience. But on the flip side, we also provide verification authority services on a global basis, providing automated background checks in less than 10 seconds per company for most countries in the world at massive scales. 80 to 100,000 companies a month, can flow through our systems. And it's about, know the sender, right? Know the caller.
I like
so
it.
that's the other side of our business.
Perfect.
And then lastly, we also do a lot of competitive intelligence, if I may. And what that is really capturing the consumer experience from an advertising perspective, from a content perspective, from a price, product, promotion perspective, and transforming that into analytics that allow our customers to win in the digital market from a, how do we engage consumers to gain sales? So that's a completely different side of our business, but it's the same skill set.
No, and it'd be a skill set, both skill sets, very, very valid for this group.
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity.
No problem. Great to have you so active in there. Thanks, John. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi everyone. Javad Rashid here from Reader Group.
Hello, hi.
Hi. Yeah, so thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation. It's our pleasure to be part of this working group. And I think going forward, there will be a lot of exciting topics around content and advertisement. One quick question, I think this pretty much resonates with what others have said and with which Steve has mentioned, although contextualized and personalized mobile advertisement is a lot more important rather than filling out, let's say, tedious web forms. But we would also like to see within this working group, what are the use cases? I think some of the other group members have also mentioned this same concern. So being an operator and considering the fact that we are present in different markets across the world, how do we operationalize and what are the use cases going forward so that we know the exact steps, like step 1, 2, 3 to in its best form, so that we know that how this entire ecosystem works. We know that there's a lot of evolution happening around A2P to RCS space, which I think it is the right way of evolution. But at the same time, what would be the impact on the A2P revenues that we have built over the course of 5 to 10 years? So I think two more important aspects. How do we build the supply part of the RCS advertisement and ad tech? And then what is the impact of RCS on the A2P traffic? So I think that would be a good part of the discussion going forward in the working groups.
Yeah, so as mentioned, it's the whole rich messaging. So how can we connect advertising on mobile to rich messaging that links totally into that, which was mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Hey, James, I apologize, but he just brought something up that made me think of another thing John, that we can. I've got one other product type of capability that I think could be used for not our product, but just generally. There's a concept called micro-targeting in the advertising world. It was developed within the political arena where you've got limited time, limited budget. So you only want to serve an ad to a person you're going to definitely influence to do what you want them to do. And so the micro-targeting is really kind of a demographic analytics capability using actual success cases to develop maps that target specific people to serve the ads to. And this can be done to make sure you're not offending people, but it can also be done to be sure that you're not wasting ad spend on people that are not going to respond or react to it in any way, and targeting those that you have a 90+% likelihood that they will actually engage the advertisement. And so this is a capability that we can get some experts on these calls to kind of talk to.
Well, that would be wonderful, because I know, and we've got some other people, a couple of other people on this call who've been involved in election type things in America, that side of things. I know when you're targeting swing voters in swing states, that's being used for that actually. So yeah, very relevant.
Yeah, we've seen success increases of 70% in terms of increasing sales or increasing, the actions that you want to do by just employing this methodology. So it can be used in the commercial business space. We started doing that a couple of years ago, roughly 5 years ago.
John, thank you. Now, time is running away from us. We've just got 8 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll down here and introduce Susan, who is our Director of Operations. Remember, this is just the first meeting of the group. We will be meeting in February. The date will be provided to you at the end of this meeting in a few minutes' time. And we can continue this discussion, but again, just to summarize so far, real life use cases, how we can essentially connect advertising on mobile to rich messaging. That's come up from 2 or 3 of you as well. RCS specifically was mentioned by Erjawat. So yes, and social engineering technique, really, really good stuff, and we can continue more. But Susan, I'd like to introduce you, and go for it. You could introduce yourself, please, because there are going to be some people who don't know you, and just take it away with regards to the event.
Hi everyone, what a fantastic first meeting. I can tell you're going to be a really engaged group, so it's great. I'm Susan, the Director of Operations at MEF, and I think I know most of you, but for those that don't, I have responsibility for all the MEF events, which include the MEF Connects, the MEF Meetups and the MEF webinars, reports, and sort of overseeing marketing and PR as well. So we haven't got much time, so I'm just going to race through. Thank you, James. So actually, first of all, it would be really interesting if you could just contact us and let us know who is actually going to MWC this year. And also, if you would like to send us sort of a list of who's going, then we can make sure that they're personally invited to all the activities that we're doing. So we start at MWC on the Sunday, the 27th, with the MEF Lounge. It's a drop-in, it's a waterside location. It basically goes on until 10:30. It's a place for you to have meetings, have one-on-one meetings, reconnect with MEF members and also guests. You'll be fed, you'll be watered, and like I said, it's a great venue. So I'm hoping that you'll make that your first stop. The MEFIS Awards is happening on Monday the 28th. We've got a red carpet affair, we've got PR, lots of activity, lots of entertainment and lots of surprises. Please be aware that there is a content and advertising award. Nominations are open now. They end on Sunday the 6th of February, and you can nominate yourself. So I'm really hoping that all of you will be encouraged to actually do that. It's going to be a great party, so if you're going to MWC, please make sure that you and your guests come to the MEFIS Awards. There will be an after party as well with sort of DJ going on until late, so get your dancing shoes on. On Tuesday, we have at the FERA the Future of Mobile Summit, the afternoon slot, but we have an extended slot, so it begins at 3 o'clock and goes on until 8. At the end of the Future of Mobile Summit, there will be immediately afterwards the MEF elections, where the winners of the board winners will be announced. The Future of Mobile Summit at the moment is made up really by you guys. So if you want any more information, if you're interested, please contact me, and I'd love to talk you through sort of how we're going to structure the program and how we have so far. You'll be transported from the MEF elections by our transport services, then take you to a MEF messaging meetup, which will happen in the evening and go on till fairly late. If I could have the next slide, please. Thank you so much. So this sort of basically just explains in more detail about each of the events. Everything is available on our website, and all registration is sort of open now. So either get in contact with myself, Eva, but please do just look at the website and just put down your information. Just the next slide as well. Thank you, James. So this is our roadmap. This is the H1 roadmap. Picking up on what Andy was talking about, data. It was just very interesting, and it just made me think that there is an element of advertising on our sort of personal data and identity MEF Connects event that we're doing. And that's our first big one after MWC. So if anyone would like to sort of have a advertising element of our personal data and identity event, please come and talk to me. It would be great to build you into the program. Following on from there, I just actually think it might be on the next slide, actually. So the first, probably most relevant to this group, will be the digital transformation. Thank you. In July, that will be purely online. And for those of you remember, who participated before, this time round, it's going to be made up of IoT and cybersecurity on the first day, payments on the second, and DCB and payments, and also on the third day will be digital marketing, conversational commerce and advertising. So it's very relevant to this group. I will jump right through LATAM. I missed earlier oh, not quite sure what's happened, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so LATAM, thank you. So LATAM obviously is across all of our ecosystems. So LATAM is headed up by Mitch, who I'm sure you all know. And if you're interested in actually participating in MEF Connects LATAM, it will take place online in April, and he'd love to hear from you. I want to sort of jump through, I'm jumping all over the place, apologies. But we have a dedicated content and advertising event in October in the US. Now, I've listened to a number of you say brands and enterprises we want to include, we want to incorporate them and into this group, but also very much into sort of our events and also the streamers of content. So this will be in the US, and I would love this group to be very sort of front and center in building this program. So please, just through James, myself, approach us about being part of the content and advertising group. And then finally, we're doing a MEF Connects in Africa in November, and this will cross over a number of ecosystems. So if you're one of your target regions is Africa, then please contact us. At the end of the year, we'll be doing omnichannel, and of course, that is very relevant to this group as well. I want to just skip ahead very quickly then and just talk about reports. So some of you may remember that our reports last year that are relevant to this group was the mobile advertising report, mobile games. And this year we'll be repeating those, but I would love to talk to you about any reports that you would like to do. We're actually sort of working on a report right now, and in fact, in yesterday's member mail, there's an invitation for you to be sort of interviewed across all the ecosystems about metaverse and sort of including AR and VR. So please contact Eva if you would like to be interviewed, and we can make that happen, but that will be our first report of the year. I feel like I really whizzed through that. So
you have, because I need to get you off because we're coming to the end. We're coming to the end, Susan, but thank you for the whiz through.
Thank you
and
for
everybody there. So if you've got, you saw those key events which are very relevant to this group. So you've got digital transformation, you've got the omni-channel event, and you've got the other things Susan was talking about. If you're interested in putting your stamp on something, and if you've got a particular message to get out to the market, contact Susan and myself regarding that. And all that remains for me to say is our next meeting will be on February 17th at the same time. So Eva will be scheduling that for all of us. And I think at that point, given I'm sure there are others who would like to talk as well and say what issues you think would be important. So, but we're running out of time. I'm technically over time already. That's it from me. Narayan, just final words from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, James. Looking forward to active participation and active recommendations, because we've got really good recommendations and views today. Right, so it's interesting that we work on them. James and I will huddle on it. You know, obviously we are open for more views. Looking forward to, the next meeting, have progress on this and then take it forward from there. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone. And some of you are moving on to another call right now, which is about RCS with me again. So there's no escape. See you soon, everyone. All the best. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for participating, everyone. Really nice.